Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me in the studio. Thank you so much to you for your support over the course of the season. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button like many of our fans have done. Amazingly, there's still about 70% who watch the programme who haven't yet hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We'd love you to come and join the football family. And if you want more exclusive stuff, giveaways and of course the chance to go to the Champions League final in 2026 in Budapest, you and a pal could be there. Flights and accommodation thrown in and 2 tickets to the Champions League final. All you have to do is register, click on the subscribe for PLZ Premium and you're in the draw for that fabulous prize. And the great news for us, over the course of the season, we have been supported by our official charity sponsor, Maggie's Cancer. And if you want to find out more about Maggie's, you can do www.maggies.org, and it'll give you an insight into all the great work that Maggie's do for people affected by cancer. And of course, over and above that, you can find out details in case you indeed are affected by it and need support and help. So, lots to talk about. European football at the forefront of our mind, and then we'll focus on the weekend's football, Saturday and Sunday in the Scottish Premiership. So with the lads all here, what a miserable night of European football for Scottish clubs.
Yeah, it certainly was, the 3 games. We could have got a wee bit better at maybe a couple of them, but the performances were predictable. You know, the way the 3 clubs are just now, it's just not happening. If we're talking about Celtic, obviously they didn't play particularly well, but obviously the turning point's the VAR. You know, you would have thought if they'd got that goal, they would on and try and win the game, but it wasn't to be. But no, not a good night for Scottish football. Yeah,
we'll discuss Rangers and we'll also look at Aberdeen as well as analysing the contrast in the reaction to each defeat towards manager, board, certainly where Celtic and Rangers are concerned. You can give us your thoughts on that, and the differing viewpoint up in the north with Aberdeen. Let's start with Celtic, 2-0 loss to Braga, and okay, a perfectly legitimate goal, but did they deserve to win, Ali?
Don't think they'd done enough to win. I thought the football was pedestrian. I thought the performance was flat. I think you can see very clearly that Celtic have no menace up front. They've got no bite at all in the second period, and particularly enjoyed a lot of the ball. But it's a frustrating watch at times, the ball going side to side without going through the middle, without getting into the box. I think you see players inhibited when they do have the ball, like looking for a safe pass, not wanting to take a risk. I thought Celtic were very, very poor. I don't think they've done enough to take anything from the game. And I would agree, I think the goal that's chopped off is baffling. I think for me it's a legitimate goal. I don't understand why it wasn't given it, and there was a very lengthy delay to check it. I don't know why the referee wasn't even invited to go over and have a look at it on the monitor. But when you look at that, that's a moment in isolation, but when you look at that performance over the whole, it was desperately poor.
Yeah, just on that, VAR, Christian Dingert instructed referee Tobias Steeler to disallow the goal because of a handball, Tam.
Yeah, I think it was a poor decision, Peter. I think that they're very unlucky there, Celtic. I think that at best it's maybe brushed his hand at the top of his arm, but it's not conclusive to turning it over. And as I said, I just think the Celtic were unlucky in that decision. But overall, I don't think Celtic deserved anything out of the game. I thought they were poor, Peter. I think they're really, really struggling for confidence in front of goal. I think they've not got that spark. They've not got that. Yeah, Tinekti was at times looked as if he could be the one that could open the door for Celtic, but in the middle of the park, they're too samey for me. They just go side to side. There's no different middle of the park going forward and getting into the box, creating chances, scoring goals, and you can't just keep relying on your forward players. So I think Celtic, in terms of creating and scoring goals at the minute, are miles off of the well last season. And as I said, Brendan's stuck with those players. He's got to work with them. He's got to work with them till January, but he's got to find a solution quickly, whether that's in the training ground or switching personnel to find a way for Celtic to start scoring goals again.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers had this to say about the disallowed goal, which certainly had more than a few fans staring in disbelief at the decision. I haven't had an explanation of why the goal wasn't given. It was a pivotal moment in the game. I don't understand why it wasn't given. But there have been too many games now where we haven't scored. I need to find the solutions to that. We need to be more aggressive in our attacking play. Last season we scored the most goals in the last 54 years of the club's history. We are in a moment now where we can't find a goal. The responsibility is on me to find a solution to that. Well, with that, you only have to look at his team selection. Now, if a couple of weeks ago, as I am being told, and I can't remember the clip, that he says he has last call on the players, then I have to say suddenly, as well as the board getting it in the neck, I think it's time Brendan Rodgers got it in the neck as well, Ruffy, because when you look at, and I have said before, it's like Groundhog Day with Celtic. This is going back to the same situation where Brendan Rodgers obviously left the club in unsavoury circumstances, according to most Celtic fans, and certainly weren't happy at the way he departed the club. But you could change Odsonne Edouard, you could change Moussa Dembele for the situation you have with Maeda, because he just looks as if he's just not interested. Kieran Tierney can't finish a game. And he hasn't certainly contributed the way a lot of Celtic fans thought he was going to contribute. You're looking to James Forrest at 34 to come on and change games. Engels is a failure up until now because the manager's not playing him. Hatate, possibly a knock, can't get a starting place. And I think, as well as the board getting it in the neck for the obvious things that we've all highlighted, if this is the manager's team and he's not getting anything out of them, Brendan Rodgers has to come into the spotlight, into the firing line as well.
Yeah, he has to come into the firing line for the present players that he's got. Okay, he said his piece, it's not my fault players come in, so he's dealt with what he's got, but he's still got to get a tune out of him. He praises himself in making players better. I just feel that every player that Celtic have left in the last 2 years have not been replaced by anything better. They've actually went back the way in the players they've brought in compared to the players that have left the club.
Two things on the goalkeepers union, Ruffy.
Yeah.
I thought he was at fault for the first one, and I thought his distribution was woeful all night.
Yeah, his distribution was bad. And the part of the goal, I think he's big enough to say he could have done better. He's not moved his feet quick enough. The ball has swerved quite a lot. It was hit with pace, but a goalkeeper who has quality has got to save that.
Why did he go with that hand?
I know you're going to say that, because if you watch every goalkeeper, your hand does automatically go like that when it comes across you. I don't know why that hand doesn't, but since you've seen that, watch a lot of goals that go in like that, and you'll see not every goal, most goalkeepers come across with that hand. I haven't got an answer to that.
Yeah, it was a poor goal to lose. Listen, your eyes don't deceive you, and as well as the unrest in the background, which can affect players, Ali, but the fans are certainly not buying the tickets to the tune of 60,000 inside the stadium. And by the time you got to half-time and then beyond it, there was lots of fans heading for the exit. I think, having spoken to a number of Celtic fans, scunnered, very similar to Rangers in the apathy, and then there's, of course, the anger at what's going on. They managed to see off the 29th minute silence. But on Monday, I don't know what that board can do to pacify the Celtic fans and the anger that they probably will display.
I think Sunday might be a more accurate barometer of that apathy of what you've referenced there. I think the 5:45 kick-off time last night maybe camouflaged things a bit, because certainly inside the stadium, maybe 5-10 minutes before kick-off to what it was by about 6 o'clock, it did actually fill up a bit more, and I think traffic was particularly bad across the city and getting into the city. But what I think on the back of that performance last night, coupled with everything going on around the club, coupled with even as much as the weather across this weekend, I think on Sunday against Motherwell, what you'll see is people voting not to go. There's frustration at every aspect of the club. It's not just frustration at the board. There is, I think, frustration at the manager. I think the kind of football that's been played, it's been boring to watch. It's a side-to-side football. There's no penetration. There's not goals.
It was February of the first time around. when that same turgid football was on display?
I think what's notable now, we can go back, there'll be many reasons for this. In fact, Celtic have scored 8 goals, I think, in their opening 6 league games. They had scored more than double that at this point of the campaign last year. So I think there is a real apathy around the club. I think there's frustration. I think some of that frustration will feel impotent because engineering any significant change, as we know, is nigh on impossible, really. I think there'll be a lot of Celtic fans looking at it and thinking this is going to be a slog between now and January, when then you maybe get the opportunity to change it by bringing in fresh players during the winter window. But at the minute, there is a flatness and it's palpable. You can feel it around on the pitch, you can feel it in the stand. People leaving in their droves last night when the second goal went in. No real belief that Celtic were capable of getting back into it.
Only Tanecki got pass marks for me, Tam, because he does something which is rare in this Celtic side at the moment. He actually goes forward and tries to take a man on. But they are pedestrian, and that's down to a number of things. The manager's given them the tactics. They go out there, they play that way. They played that way first time around when all the Celtic fans were actually looking at it and thinking, this football's turgid to watch. But the problem I have with the whole situation is, if there's now a genuine unrest towards Brendan Rodgers and what's unfolding here, and he's going to have to take a bit of criticism, this board and this majority shareholder brought him back.
Yeah, they did, and listen, I think everyone's got to take a share of the blame, but obviously the board are getting it mostly in the neck from the supporters at the minute. But when you look at the Celtic team that played last night, it should be good enough to beat Braga at home, Peter, in the Europa League. So yeah, I just don't think they're playing many speed in their play, Peter. I think they're lacking confidence in front of goal. There's so many players who are miles off their levels from last season. There's obviously the biggest one, but even Callum McGregor, he looks as if he's lost a yard of pace. Carter Vickers, what's happened to him? He was awful last night. I thought Kieran Tierney, poor. Saraki came on and actually played well. He looks a better fit at left back for Celtic. So Tanecki was the only player who actually had a bit of confidence and a bit of gung-ho about him to go and get at a full-back.
The only time you can think of the goalkeeper having a save to make was the one that he cut inside and had a chance in the second half.
Yeah.
It's the only time you can really think.
I think he's won the first half as well, Tanecki, but he's the only one for me, Peter, that when the ball comes to him, the Celtic supporters can get off their seat. That's the only player in the Celtic team that manages doing it. Yeah,
before we move on to Rangers, just one little footnote, Ruffy. Monday, obviously they've got a difficult game coming up against Motherwell, which we'll talk about later on. But on Monday, when they eventually meet the Celtic supporters at 6 o'clock, the board's not going to change. They're not going to give up power. There'll be nobody walking off it. The majority shareholder's not going to leave. So that's the first thing that I think they'll have to face up to. And the second thing, and the only thing that they will probably get out of it, is a promise of greater communication and then maybe a promise of addressing the transfers in the January window. But I wouldn't hold your breath on it.
No, but I think they have to go to that meeting with a bit of honesty. I don't think they're going to fudge it when there's people sitting in front of you. It's okay putting it out elsewhere, but when you've got, I don't know how many in that committee is going to be sitting there, they have to be honest that they got it wrong. They have to hold their hands up and say, look, we get where you're coming from, we really appreciate it, it's your money we're spending, blah, blah, blah. But they have to get it right. They have to be seen to be doing something about it. And the only time they can do that is in January.
The other thing about it is the only time they're ever mobilised is when basically the Celtic fans, have to basically demand it. The demonstrations is one thing, but when you start buying tickets, that's when this board gets mobilised and thinks, wait a minute.
I think that would go for most boards once you start seeing empty seats. I think
this is a defiant board who at times has been almost dismissive of the support. That's what's angering the Celtic fans.
I think it's multifaceted, the anger. I think the frustration comes down to the recruitment, the poor recruitment, the lack of progress in terms of the Champions League knockout stages. That Kairat game, I think the hangover from that has lingered significantly. And that all goes back to feeling as though recruitment in the window just wasn't up to scratch, not up to speed. In actual fact, for me, I think that's the area that's probably most likely where you can engineer change and change things. That's a source where I think you can change probably the perception of the club and the mood around the club. If you get recruitment right, you get so many more things then that fall into place naturally. I think they've moved away from previous strategies that were in place. I think certainly from the outside it looks as though it's chaotic when it comes to how they recruit players, the manner in which they source a player and then try and get that deal over the line. I think it comes across as very amateur from an external point of view, and I think that is the area that you need to focus on and getting it right, because I don't think there is anything wrong about going and sourcing a project if that project is aligned with your values as a club and what you need from them, and that you can sell the club as to say, come here, progress your career, we give you a stepping stone, you can go on to a bigger league, a more lucrative league. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but you have to be identifying the right players that fit into your system and that suit your club.
And they haven't done that. Sturm Graz 2, Rangers 1. And again, a different kind of problem. I've never known a season like it, Tam, where both sets of fans are unhappy with the board's decisions. Both sets of fans, one set extremely unhappy with the manager and the other just starting, I think, to turn again. Rangers fans, they just can't take to him, and it doesn't do him any favours when he's got a defence that can't defend.
Yeah, I think just starting the game, to lose a goal of that ilk in the first 6 minutes, a throw in, Peter, it's just one ball played over the top, a ball inside, and then it's a goal. And it just puts you right up against it. And then the second goal, when you're keeping that high line, you've got to drop at some point, and they just kept, the guy's coming towards the ball, you've got to drop a wee bit, and he just kept that line. Guy runs off him, scores 2-0 down. Get the goal back, second half. The second half was better from Rangers. I think Gassama's, a shining light for them, similar to Tenecti at Celtic. He's the one when he gets the ball, you think something's going to happen. They hit the bar in the first half. Rangers had a lot of chances, created a lot of opportunities, but if you're giving teams 2 goals at a start, then you're not going to win many games, particularly in Europe. So it just adds more pressure to Russell Martin. It just adds more pressure to him, and in terms of going forward, Rangers supporters spent a lot of money there. I've seen a couple of videos on social media today about supporters confronting Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell. That's not going to help either. So listen, it's an absolute mess at Rangers at the minute. Celtic are obviously not playing well either, but Rangers, I think, it's far worse to be a Rangers supporter than as a Celtic fan at the minute.
As a goalkeeper again, Ruffy, I don't know about you, I thought the first one, he made some great saves. Yeah, I thought he was suspect at the first one, Jack Butler.
No, I give him the benefit of the doubt. The ball come through a ruck of players. I don't think he had enough time to react to it. I actually think it hit his knee, didn't it? I don't think he saved it. I think it hit his knee and went in. So I have to give him a wee bit of leeway in that one. But you're right, he had some right good saves after that. Kept Rangers in the game. And I think the only thing the manager can take out is a bit of the performance and say, look, guys are trying, we're trying to get a win, but again it's the defensive mistakes at the back, and as long as they keep doing that, it's going to be an uphill battle.
This is what Russell Martin had to say after the game and the 2-1 defeat. You can't start that poorly. We still had loads of chances in the first half, but they had too many, all from set plays or throw-ins. We have to be brighter, organised quicker, and help each other more. So the mentality is the problem. We are not doing what we should do on the set play. We are not doing what we should do on our throw-in. That's a mentality issue. We have to look at the mentality. We have a lot of young men, but they have to learn really quickly.
Peter, one thing from that statement is he's taking zero blame. He's washed his hands. Usually the manager comes out and says, I picked the team, it's on me. He's not doing that now, Peter. Everything's on the players. He's throwing them under the bus every single week.
Well, 1 week it's anxiety, now it's mentality. Where are we going with this?
What's stopping him coming out and say, listen, I picked the team, it's on me. He's now just going, here, have that, giving it to the players, Peter, and that's just a sign of a manager that's drowning at the minute.
But was he signed right at the beginning, at Motherwell? When he called out 2 players but never named them, and then we found out who the 2 players were in the next game because they weren't playing. So he's not messing about with them, Tam's right, he seems to be looking after himself a wee bit now, and with the way things are going, obviously all the stick he's getting, he's beginning to go, hey, wait a wee minute, I need to stick up for myself.
Yeah, Max Aarons, again, one of the players after the game says the mood in the stands isn't good and it's affecting us. But as players, it has to start with us. We've got to be the ones who get our fans up for the game. That has to be from the start, from the first minute of games. If we do that, the supporters will have something to get up for and cheer for. So that's down to us. I can't put my finger on why that's not happening, but that's how it feels right now. And he's got to, and again, it's down to, you're looking at the recruitment, you're looking at the players. I mean, I think like Tunetke, I think Gassama's got a trick, and he looks like a player who can do something for them. I mean, I think Ruffy's right. They did create chances. There was times when I was watching the game when I thought Rangers at times going forward looked really good. Chermiti hit the bar. They did create chances, but the back line and, of course, midfield and the front line have to defend along with the defenders. This is not an isolation, but that's where they are suspect. And sometimes you think to yourself, are they capable of even getting 3 goals?
I think it looks disjointed. I think the whole thing looks really disjointed. I think, dare I say it, I think they missed Dessers too up front, the focal point up front. I think they look like a team short on belief, short of confidence, short of conviction. I think they looked shell-shocked in the opening period of the game, the way that they started. And I think that has been a feature throughout this campaign so far, a slow start and then recovering once they've lost ground, trying to come out and make up for it. I think it doesn't look as though there is improvement. So you go back and you look at the win on Sunday, the first league win on Sunday against Livingston, and a team looking to build a wee bit of momentum, get back-to-back wins, start to bring in a bit of conviction about performances. I don't see it.
Yeah, it is fairly turgid when you watch them. I mean, Livingston was a late winner. And again, with fans, you can't fool anyone. And we always say it to all of our reporters in here going to games, don't listen to hype, spin, whatever it is. Don't let your eyes deceive you. Just watch the game. And the fans are watching the game and they can see it. They don't see a side that's well organised and has a style in Russell Martin. And they're watching now a situation where the wins for Rangers
are 30% win rate at Rangers.
It's so poor. I think it's 5 wins, Tom. That's not Rangers manager material.
No, it's miles off it, Peter. I mean, he has to get results at Rangers. It's okay talking about projects, mentality, and we're going to get there. And that's not going to wash with the Rangers supporters. And it's just interesting now. It's like everyone's looking after themselves now. There's Max Aarons coming out and basically blaming the fans. We can't. Atmosphere in the stands not conducive to us being confident. You've got the manager blaming the players, and you've got the fans blaming the manager. So it's just a blame game at the minute at Rangers. Everybody's pointing fingers at each other, and there's nobody coming together as one unit. And if that continues, they're just going to keep losing games and drift down the table. So something's got to give in the next couple of weeks, whether that's Sunday. Obviously Falkirk away, then it's international break. A great time, I think, for owners to change a manager. You've got a couple of weeks to get a new manager bedded in. So, whether he gets to that stage where he has to win on Sunday and he gets another couple of weeks, day of execution. But for me, it's just a matter of time. He's just ticking the days down where he's inevitably going to get sacked at Rangers at some point in the next couple of months. So it's just a question of when.
Brian says, Peter, the bottom line is both Celtic and Rangers have players who are just not good enough, either in ability or mental strength. Can't argue with you there. Neil Jameson says, Peter, do your research and you'll see Martin has blamed mentality at every club he's managed. Well, thankfully, I haven't followed his career elsewhere. What I'm watching at the moment is a manager who just can't get a trick out of any of the players that he's got. The difference between Russell Martin's situation and Brendan Rodgers is, I think you've got a manager in Brendan Rodgers who's going to try and just, kick and scream all the way to the summer. And this guy here has got a new board who don't do the same things that the old board were guilty of, which is when you have a majority of what I would call fans on the board, they're more likely to be listening to people who are members in the Blue Room. This is a different mentality here. And I don't know how long they're going to stick with him, but they're going to stick with him at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly are. Well, according to him, there, any chats I've had, they've said, look, keep your head down, keep working hard, it'll turn. You know, but there's only so long you can keep saying that. I mean, we don't know these people personally. You know, they come obviously from America, and we've seen the Americans have different ideas than the British managers, our owners have, you know. And I was listening to a thing, believe it or not, I was listening to TalkSport, believe that?
Yeah. I can't believe it.
And they
were about as loyal to us as
I pressed the wrong button in the radio. Yeah. Anyway, they were talking about foreign owners, and I think they were talking about Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was, and their point they were making was foreign owners don't care. They don't care, you know, if it's not working, they just bin it and they move away and they go and do something else.
Not supporters.
They're not supporters of that club because they're not here, they're not at games. I don't know if that'd be the same with the 49ers. I mean, he's coming over to see some games and he's not seeing others. So his main focal point is the two guys he's put in charge, and they're the ones that are getting it. It's not him that's getting it now.
I wonder, and I hate to dive into, and it's just because of, I don't want to be political because I know there's people on here who absolutely cane me for it, but I don't want to dive into the way society and the politics of the world is going at the moment. Maybe is it maybe that the foreign owners have a more cold and calculated business outlook to it?
I think they don't have an emotional connection to the club that influences them the way that you might have when you have supporters on a board, and also when you're sitting amongst it every week. I do think it's different when you're exposed to that, and we can speak about what that would be like to experience, and you think once you've made your decision that you're sticking by someone that you're going to see it through. The reality is when you're in that moment, I would imagine it would feel very uncomfortable when you're on the receiving end of abuse, or there's a very toxic atmosphere around you when things aren't going well on the park. But certainly I think if you're thinking about the 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh, it is they put a manager in place and they put a structure in place. And I would wonder if just now making the decision so early would feel like admitting failure, admitting that you've got it wrong. They also might see that from top to bottom within the club, it needed a rehaul, it needed to be restructured, and it was never going to be a quick fix. It was never going to be something that happened overnight. So there may still be some goodwill in terms of time and giving him the opportunity to go and try and redress the balance of how he started. The problem is that you just don't get time at these clubs, and I know you're going to come to it, but I covered Aberdeen last weekend and our colleague Cheryl was at Boardroom last night, and there's a very different culture between both sets of supporters there in terms of reaction and appreciating that there's time. At Celtic or at Rangers, there is no time because the demands are immediate. You have to be winning, not isolated games. It's not a long-term project. It is about, it can't always be jam tomorrow. It has to be today. It has to be, this is a successful team. This is a management team capable of delivering success. And I think that's where the rub is just now. You might have a boardroom hierarchy who are prepared to wait and play the long game. You definitely don't have supporters who are going to buy into that.
I'm glad you mentioned Aberdeen because it's quite good. Obviously, we've got Kobe, our North East reporter, and Cheryl was there at the game last night. So you get a sense of the attitude of Don's fans. I mean, it's 8 defeats, 2 draws, 1 win since the start of the season for Jimmy Tillene. They lost to Shakhtar Donetsk, which I think generally most of us thought they would lose to.
Champions League team for so long.
Absolutely, they're a better outfit. But again, there doesn't seem to be, and Cheryl interviewed countless Aberdeen fans last night, and I'm talking a lot of Aberdeen fans, not one of them was saying pull the plug on him. They were all saying, you know, you've got to back him, he's been backed, that they've got to give him time. And even Jimmy Tillene himself was talking about connecting with the supporters.
The thing was that when we are connect with the fans, when we show some desire, passion, personality on the pitch, and we're fighting for Aberdeen Football Club, this connection with the fans is really, really strong. And we have to build on this now and learn from this, that we have always to go out on the pitch to show that we are fighting so hard for them, so they can feel it and see it. And that's what they did today. That's what was a good atmosphere.
And one of the key issues, which again we were looking at last night, he goes off the park. I think he had Carlson by his side. He's going to the Aberdeen fans. They're clapping back. Whereas, down here in the West, it's away and take a flying and get yourself up the tunnel because we're going to give you absolute dogs abuse. So, as Ali pointed out as well, a different mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think Jimmy Tilleen, when he first came in at Aberdeen, was such a hero because of the start they made. So instantly, the Aberdeen fans
Credit
thought
in the bank.
he's a great manager, credit in the bank. Then it went on a bad run. Okay, fine, with a great start, and then they won the Scottish Cup. So I think he has got credit in the bank amongst the supporters, Peter. It's running low at the minute, but I watched the highlights of the game there before we come on. I thought Aberdeen played really well. I thought they ran a real strong team close. They're top in the league in Ukraine. A lot of quality players in their team, and they scored a couple of goals. And they've got Lazetic, the striker, who looked very good. Boy for AC Milan, I think he's only...
Programme, trying not to get them too excited with Lazetic, the next Thierry Henry.
Oh, he looked good. But looked to business.
Yeah, but quite a few people say if Jimmy Tilleen hadn't won the Scottish Cup, he'd have been gone by now. He probably would have by now. Aurora, who's a big Dons fan, says far better formation last night. Kaiser says if we don't win against Dundee, he's gone surely. Listen, if you can see little shoot the way they're playing, maybe that buys them the time as well, although the results are atrocious.
No, well, I think that's the supporters last night have given them that wee bit of leeway because they saw the players in a shift. They're a lot better than what they are. They scored 2 goals, which they haven't been doing. But he has to continue that. Again, he's like the rest of them. He's on borrowed time as well. He needs to keep winning, get on some kind of run. But, I mean, the Aberdeen supporters have been very loyal throughout the years. They've always travelled in numbers. And at home, the first thing I would say, well, if I don't support Aberdeen, who else do I support?
Yeah.
So you hang on in there and you hope your team turns and you get behind them.
Yeah.
Go Rangers.
Have you seen where they are?
Okay. Thanks for that. By the way, just in case you think this is unique to Scottish football, in the other Europa League match, Nottingham Forest 2, Michelin 3, and I don't know how many games he's had. He hasn't had many, possibly 6, maybe 8. The Nottingham Forest fans are calling for Ange Postecoglou to be sacked. This
6
is
games.
Yeah, how many?
6.
6. This is Ange's reaction to that. And we'll come back to that. Ange, clearly, he's heard the calls, but it's early days for them. Although I would say to you, he's got an owner. That wouldn't tell me. Obviously, there's some severe weather out there, which might be affecting your view of our programme. Slight buffering, haven't had that in a long time, Ruffy.
No.
But the weather is absolutely mental. So
just to let them know that is Tam's haircut.
Yeah, the buffering won't take away from your. Did you get that aggressive?
That was time, isn't it?
Did you get that haircut because did you for the Easter Road for Tynecastle?
Aye. I'm going to March tomorrow with the Block 7 boys, so with the green gear on.
We're going to. Yeah, absolutely. Can I just say at this point, and I hope it doesn't buffer at this point because people think we've gone mental, Ali, but Hearts will never have a better chance of winning the Scottish Premiership than this season if they get the bit between their teeth, keep the momentum going. What a shout they've got. I've got them down for second, but by the way, the catalogue of calamity that we've just been talking about with the 2 big clubs, what a chance for them.
Indeed, I think when we heard these predictions of a 10-year plan to go and win the league, I don't think anyone anticipated that there might be an inkling of it this season. Certainly, I think they'll be laughing all the way just now when they look at what's happening at both Celtic and Rangers. I think the football is turgid at both of them. I think both teams look low in confidence. I think you could dissect Hearts' performances and say that there's an element of luck in where they find themselves. It's not entirely been convincing if you look at the performances across every game. But the bottom line is they've built up a head of steam. They've got themselves into a fantastic position. They're sitting now at the top of the table. Realistically, can they sustain it for the course of the campaign? I would doubt it because you're up against 2 teams who have a financial might realistically speaking, come January they can go in and properly change it. But you're right to say that they should scent blood. They should scent an opportunity this season, if anything, just to go and ask the question, just to unnerve both Celtic and Rangers. I think certainly the way that they've started will give them a confidence, belief, and all those things are so important when you put it in to the bigger mix and in the bigger equation.
If they turn over Hibs at the weekend and then turn over Celtic, I think I'd be more confident in saying what you've just said there than now. It's up to them. It's up to them. It's not up to Rangers and Celtic as far as I'm concerned. It's up to them to go into these games that are coming up and show to everybody that we are the team that's going to be challenging.
Yeah, and it gets, there's nothing better than an Edinburgh Derby, which is undoubtedly a game of the weekend. I'm really excited about going to it, as I often am going to Edinburgh Derbies. This one at Tynecastle, when you look at the run he's on, when you look at the performances now, starting to get a bit ahead of steam, the way they're playing, good win against Falkirk. We've already highlighted the squad he has at his disposal and the game changers. This one could be a humdinger, although every time I build an Edinburgh Derby up like that, it ends up 0-0. Is it a game of containment for Hibs, or is it a game where they think we've got to go there and get something?
Yeah, no, I think Hibs will go and try and win the game, Peter. Obviously, it was a totally different scenario last week at Parkhead. You're losing a lot of goals. You're going to Celtic Park, you're thinking, right, let's try and keep a clean sheet. That's what Hibs done last week. They got a point, fair play. I don't think they'll play like that at Tynecastle. I think they'll go after Hearts. As I said before, I don't think there's a lot between the teams. There is, I think, 8 points at the minute. There's a bit of a gap in terms of the points, but I don't think there's much between the teams at all. I think the weather could be an issue, Peter. If you look at the weather tomorrow, it's to be 50, 60 mile an hour winds in the Edinburgh area, so that could affect the game in terms of quality. But no, I think Hibs are capable. Hibs have got the squad, are capable of going to Tynecastle and win. I think they've won the last 2 against Hearts. They've only lost 1 in the last 8 against Hearts. So Hibs are in a good place in terms of head-to-head against Hearts in the last couple of years.
Yep, our reporter Kerry Pollock has been certainly covering the miles this week. She was at the Orium, first of all.
It's the first Edinburgh Derby of the season this weekend, and a first for Hearts manager Derek McInnes, who firmly believes that despite having a number of players on his hands who have yet to experience a game against their city rivals, they'll be more than ready for when Saturday evening comes calling.
I think they'll be well aware. I mean, like everybody else, the lads are all living in and around Edinburgh, so they quickly get the gist of this game. They've been getting told for months now since they've been here that you need to win this game. So I think they're well aware of the importance of it. I think in terms of preparing, we'll show clips of Hibs, and we might look at clips of previous derbies in terms of just to try and get a wee flavour of it. But lads aren't daft, they'll realise what it means to the club and the supporters of both sets of players.
The high-flying Jambos sit at the summit of the league table, remaining unbeaten so far this season, but Derek McInnes is brushing away any potential title race talk for the time being.
I don't know what pundits are. There's more pundits who'll say we can't. Let's be honest, we're 6 league games into a season, and listen, I don't. Our fights with ourselves. But it's stupid to say we're in a title fight at the minute, and we're not getting drawn into that. For us, our fight is with ourselves to improve on what wasn't good enough last season, and we need to try and improve on that.
It all takes place this weekend. It's the first Edinburgh Derby of this season. At Tynecastle, kick-off is the later time of 5:45.
The only thing that does your head in about an Edinburgh Derby is just what he mentioned there. There's nothing worse than, you can have rain, freezing, you can have sunny conditions, roasting, but wind kills it, doesn't it?
No, I think there is a new rule in place. If it's the wind, it's whatever you call it, as the games get cancelled. I think there is, I think because of the wind. I think one of the worst places you could go to would be Arbroath. If there's a home game at Arbroath, you're wasting your time. Because many games have been out there, the goalkeeper's taking a bad kick and it's coming back into his hands again.
Yeah, you've had to have a couple of saves, didn't you?
That's scandalous. You can't have a game of football like that. So I really hope. You've got to think about people going to the games as well and the transport and everything. But to actually play in 80, 90 mile an hour winds is just not on.
We've just Yeah, but we've just, he's just said 50-60 and you've just upped
Oh,
it
it's
to
50-60.
Yeah.
90 mile an hour, would you get that for?
Well, that's what he does. He just pulls anything.
Don't want to
out
go to
his
the
head.
game now.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say to you, Alison, is quite simply the players that he's got at his disposal. If you're looking at the match winners, Shankman scoring goals. Braga's an absolute fan's favourite with every reason because of his technical ability. Kizarides scored an absolute raker. And there's optimism. Okay, we know they're at a certain level, their back line, but he's picking them every week and he's got options from the bench. But the two in the middle, I mean, Halkett is, avoiding injury.
I was just about to say, he looks fit.
Yeah.
He looks match fit. I think they look solid. I think what they have is a decent foundation. I think he's right to play down the title chat. I think he's right to say we're 6 games in, just calm down a minute. I think he'll want to protect his players from all that kind of distraction and all that kind of hype and talk. He'll want to just be saying it's a good start, but it's nothing more than a good start. Look at Aberdeen last season, went all the way to that game at Hampden when they played Celtic in the semi-final and then just fell off a cliff. So you've seen that what can happen. I think the next couple of weeks will be really interesting in terms of tomorrow's game, and then I think they've got Celtic at Tynecastle. These are interesting games, and Kilmarnock away in between. If you come out of them with a good stash of points and then go into the international break in a fairly good place, I think the longer it goes, the more you start to build a bit of momentum and belief. But I think from his point of view, you can understand entirely why he wants to pour cold water on any talk like that.
Well, I don't know if anybody. I mean, we obviously give our predictions 1 to 12, and I've said I think they can finish second, but nobody's saying they're going to win the title. But what we are saying, and I think it's, you only have to look at the evidence that's in front of you. What a great chance to make it really interesting.
Absolutely. And certainly I think the nervousness at both Celtic and Rangers is so tangible at the minute, increases the more that Hearts keep winning games. The more pressure that you put on them, then the more nervous you get.
What about the opposition?
You have to get your head around the Rangers and Celtic being as bad for the whole season. You have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, you can't see that.
I can't see them as being as bad as what they are right at this very moment.
Well, do you remember when Ali a couple of weeks ago was getting mega comments saying that was a stupid 9 points? On Monday, I said, what about 12 points? She went, well, 12 points. And then I could see it, she's on the fence now, 12 points, in front of Rangers. And suddenly, it could be all bets are off. That's for second. But, what's going to happen with Celtic's another matter. But what about the opposition? Because Hibs are not there just to make up the numbers, as Kerry Pollock found out.
I think it's always about trying to, every game you go into for players who haven't experienced it before, to try and give them an idea of what to expect. One, so they're not kind of caught off guard, but also to look forward to that, to relish the opportunity. There's a lot of our players as well that have played here before. A lot of the Hearts players. It's not as if there's a lot of players that haven't played in the Derby. So, from that point of view, I think it is always good to try and give them an idea of what they're going into. But you don't want to make it something they need to be, overhype it as well, and then you start to do things you wouldn't normally do. So it should, as I've already said, they should really be looking forward to the game. They're brilliant days, especially if you come out with a positive result, and that is a challenge for the players.
4 draws out of the last 5 games, 1 defeat.
Yeah, they'll be encouraged by last week. I know the Hearts game is going to be different. You'll have to approach it differently. I don't think they'll be backs against the wall. Armlet Tam, they'll see that a win would be great for them, and I think they'll go for it. I think they've got players there that can cause problems. Obviously Boyle, Bowie, but they have to do it on the day, and they have to look at Hearts where they're getting the benefit of their wins, and it looks as if it's up front. So defending wise, I think I read somewhere that Bashiri's back and he's going to be playing. I think he's fit to play, so that'll be a big call for the manager.
It's a big week for you, Ruffy. You've been listening to the radio and you've been reading. Wow.
I've been in my car quite a lot.
that is unheard of.
It's when I start saying I'm reading this book, then you start panicking.
If you read a book, it'll have a lot of pictures in it, believe me. Listen, they've got to turn up, they've got to do the business. Is Bowie delivering what you thought he would? I mean, he's in the international squad. I like him.
I think he's lost a bit of confidence, Peter, from the international break. With Scotland flying. Never kicked a ball for Scotland. Over there, never played 1 minute. And I just don't think he's been the same player when he's come back. I don't know if he's lost a wee bit of heart, a wee bit of confidence from from not getting a cap, or he's not trained well with Scotland or whatever. But he hasn't looked the same player in front of goal. He's still doing all the donkey work. He's holding the ball up, he's getting fouls, and he's doing the nasty part of the game, but he's not scoring goals. So there's no time like sorting that out then tomorrow night. And as I said, I think him and Martin Boyle definitely can cause Hearts problems. I don't think Bashiri will come back in. I think he'll go the same back three he played against Celtic, and I think the possibility of putting Mulligan into the middle of the park and playing Cadden wide right. I think they're missing Mulligan in the midfield. I think Mulligan, start of the season, European games, middle of the park, was a machine. Brilliant. Chris Cadden's obviously dropped off. They've dropped him and moved, him back, Mulligan back into right wing back, and he's not the same player. He's not got the same effect in the game. So I would look to see Mulligan back in the middle of the park tomorrow night.
Prediction?
2-1 to Hibs.
2-1 to Hibs. Okay, big call. Yeah, listen.
Fancy Hibs.
That's what I love about you. You've got a Hibs-based column. You played for Hibs, and you've really stepped up to the plate there. That's God Almighty. Okay.
Do you think Ruffy was
What's your prediction?
Well, I said Hearts at the beginning of the week, but it's getting near the games. I'm encouraged by what Tam's just been telling me there. So, Tam being a top-class pundit, I'm going to go for 1 each.
1 each?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what I look at? Sometimes I look at you, Ruffy, and I obviously see my old pal Derek Johnson. Derek used to write in the Evening Times, and he'd be on Radio Clyde, and then he'd write for the Rangers News, and he'd 3 different predictions in all of them. And I just looked at you there, and I thought, wow, 5 days is a lot to get you holding, isn't it?
Well, let's see if it's right. That's the main thing. Let's see on Monday if it's right.
2-1 Hibs, a draw.
1 each.
And I'm going to go 3-1 Hearts.
I can't see beyond Hearts. I think Hibs' record at Tynecastle is poor at the best of times. I thought they
been recently.
I thought they'd done well last weekend at Celtic Park. I thought they were fairly resolute, but I just think I can't see beyond Hearts. I'm going to say 2-1 Hearts.
There you are. At least you've got your predictions.
3-1 Hearts. You going to the game tomorrow?
Yep.
Take it, go and get a starter, main course. Sweet.
I'll be in the press room, sitting on my own as I often do.
That's how you predicted Hearts.
It's a strange situation, Ali. People have a perception of you in their head and they just don't talk to you. I think the only person that speaks to me is Mark Yardley. He'll say hello.
Imagine you were sitting in your press bit and your wee gantry bit and the tannoy come on and just to let everybody know Peter Martin has predicted 3-1 today on the tannoy.
I wouldn't mind it. I'll be happy.
You can imagine.
I'll be happy in that press room. Anyway, give us your thoughts. It's all about predictions. It's only football. It's not life and death. It's just a game of football, for God's sake. Paul Brady says, I never thought I'd hear that Tam's a top-class pundit. Same here, Paul. But that's from Ruffy, so there's not really any great credibility to that statement. Okay, Killie against St Mirren. I know. Killie against St Mirren. I tell you, this one is so tough to call, if only for the fact, Alison, that Killie really impressed me when I watched them at Tannadice. I thought they were really good, and St Mirren, Robinson is just a fan's favourite.
Yeah, he just punches above all expectations every season. I thought Killie were well worth the win at Tannadice. You were there, obviously, last weekend. I also thought Kilmarnock were very well organised against Celtic a couple of weeks back. I think this one might be a draw. I'm going to say 2 each.
2 each, 4 goals. Brilliant. You going to this one? Yeah.
That's why I'm predicting.
You going, Alison?
Yes.
I'm going to go for 0-0, Peter.
0-0, yeah. Just for Ali to have.
I'll go for a draw as well. Can't see. I think it's about a really close game.
7 games undefeated, St Mirren, Ruffy.
Yeah, I couldn't see that Kilmarnock win at Dundee United during the week. Thought they got a draw at it. They've been good, but they won quite comfortably. But at this moment in time, St Mirren are the team that I like watching, so I'm going to stick my neck out and go 2-1 St Mirren.
2-1 St Mirren. I'm going to go 1-1. I can't see. I can't split them. Dundee United against Livingston. I don't know. I can't work out the drop off in it, Ruffy. I couldn't work it out. I was expecting Dundee United to win last week. Killie deserved their win. I don't know what Dundee United will turn up in this one, but at home against a Livingston side who got a late defeat to Rangers. I think Livingston, Dundee and Livingston and Falkirk are the three that I think are going to be in the mix.
Yeah, I think they know that as well. I think they know they'll be down there for a long spells. They'll be looking at the fixture list. They'll be hoping that when these games come up against each other, they'll win. The 3 points is going to be vital every time they play each other. I think Dundee United will be looking at that Kilmarnock game just as a one-off and let's get back to where we were. So I think they'll be too strong for Livingston. I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0, I'll go with that as well. Ali?
2-1.
2-0 as well for me.
Yeah, okay, emphatically Dundee United. Now, don't miss this next part, because this next part is going to throw you off. If you think there was buffering in the first half of the show, wait till you hear the predictions in this section. Sunday, Falkirk against Rangers. Last win for Falkirk was against the Dons, and 5 wins all season out of 16 for Rangers. So, Ali, this is basically John McGlynn trying to get something out of his side against Rangers. They're certainly going to play football. Let's hear what Cara had to say when she had a chat with the Falkirk manager.
Any hide for the fact that Rangers are not in a place that they want to be. You know, you can't hide for that. So yeah, but you kind of put them down at your peril, I would suggest. Also, you know, there's no way that we'll be taking it lightly at all. I'm looking for a response to the game last week, and it wouldn't matter if it was Rangers or, you know, whoever that we're going to be playing tomorrow. We would be on Sunday. We'd be looking for a response from the players. So yeah, that's kind of my main kind of theme here.
Yeah. Okay. We had Brian Graham in earlier in the week as well. They've got to try and get goals from somewhere. You know, it's all right complimenting them for the way they go about their business and the way they play, but he needs to get something. Is he going to get anything from this Rangers side who suffer from mentality issues and anxiety?
Yeah, I think Falkirk can get a draw here, Peter. I'm going to go for a draw in this game. I think Rangers, still not convinced by them. You know, the fans are on their case. I think Falkirk at home are quite a difficult team to play against. I watched them against Hibs. I thought they were very, very good the second half. A lot of energy, a lot of legs in their team. Rangers might be suffering a wee bit of tiredness from travelling back from Austria last night. So I think Falkirk will get a draw in a high-scoring game, 2 each. 2 each.
Good goals for Tam in this match. Ruffy, do you share his optimism?
No, I don't. I thought Falkirk weren't impressive last week. As you say, we had Brian in, you know, and Brian would rather be playing than not playing. I think this is an ideal game for him to play when you see the Rangers back, 2 centre-halves particularly, all over the place. So it'll be interesting to see what the Falkirk team selection is. I still think Rangers are just ready to turn it. I said that last week against Livingston. They got a wee break at the end of the game. They had chances midweek there. I think they'll go to Falkirk and win 2-0.
So quite an emphatic win there, and
Yep.
a chance to get...
Yep.
Okay, Ruffy's going 2-0 Rangers. Ali?
I think it'll be a draw. I think I'm going to go with 1 each. I think Rangers are vulnerable. I think there's a lack of confidence there, and I think Falkirk can utilise that and take something from the game. Okay,
I'm going to go 1-1 as well. Very rare we get a situation. 3 draws and Ruffy 2-0 to the Rangers. Okay, Celtic against Motherwell. 3 games without a win. Motherwell undefeated. And Jens Berthel Askau certainly will have been delighted the way they finished against Aberdeen. It was one of those ones, I think a lot of us thought they would take Aberdeen, and they did. Eventually. It was late, but they got there in the end. And, you know, he says that they are going to go there and they're not going to be there parking the bus, according to the Motherwell manager. I've seen quite a bit of Motherwell so far this season. I've been impressed by them. They try and play football. They play out quite a lot from the back, right enough, which I do wonder if Celtic might be able to manipulate a bit. But I see this one as a draw again. I don't think it will be a sellout at Celtic Park on Sunday. I think there is a lot of disgruntlement and unease around the club. I think supporters, I'm not sure it will be a full house at all, given the circumstances around it. I think Celtic look flat. I think they look unimaginative in front of goal. They look very predictable, pedestrian. I fancy Motherwell to take a point. 1 each. 1 each. I'm going to go 0-0 in this game, Ruffy.
Well, I know Motherwell won last week, but that game could have went anyway. You know, Aberdeen had chances as well. I think it'll be Celtic the same as Hibs last week. It'll be backs to the wall. It'll be Celtic at home, 26 shots at goal, depending on how many of them are on target. I think Celtic will win this 2-0.
2-0 as well. So you've gone for Celtic in the
And
current
Rangers,
predicament, 2-0, and Rangers 2-0.
Yeah.
Okay, Ruffy, you can have that. Give us your condescending looks for Monday. that looked like he's angry. Well, listen, we'll bow to you if you get it right.
I think the best team that Celtic could play is Motherwell, simply because Motherwell will come out and attack Celtic.
Quite open.
Try and play. They'll play open. They'll play out for the back. I think Celtic will strangle the life out them, press them, and I think Celtic will get back in the goals trail and they'll win 3-0.
Okay, 3-0.
Yep, 3-0 to Celtic.
Well, I think bearing in mind what's been happening this week, I think Henrik Larsson might be coming back in a one-off deal if it's going to be 3-0. Aberdeen against Dundee. Now, if we're talking about suddenly Don's fans saying, needs time, then I know a lot of people here are waiting to hear what Alison's prediction is. The Dons fans on here think Ali's got it in for them. There's something that's happened in an Aberdeen nightclub in the 90s that has set Alison on a mission against the Dons.
Hate Aberdeen.
It's really
vendetta against them.
It's a strange situation. Something's happened. There's been an uni, an Aberdeen boyfriend. Something's gone bad. You're going to get battered, by the way. But there's a real venom about her when it comes to Aberdeen. And the Dons fans on here notice this.
Yeah.
So, Ruffy, where are we going with Aberdeen against a Dundee side, by the way, that, Stephen Presley's trying to get a trick out of them. He's got them well organised.
Yeah, he keeps on saying we're getting better, we're nearly there, we're this, we're that. But I think Aberdeen will be encouraged by that performance, not the result, obviously, and it's got to be a win. Somebody's got to hit the back of the net. I know the first one was a penalty last night, but I think they'll begin to take confidence in themselves, and even now they know that Alison hates them. It's got to be a win.
Yeah, well, it's just such a narrow... It was a narrow defeat against St Mirren for Dundee. Stephen Presley did come out and highlight the things that he's saying that are positive about them. So is he going up to Pittodrie just waiting for the inevitable for you?
I fancy Aberdeen in this game strongly, Peter. I've seen signs last night that they're starting to catch fire in the final third. I think Lazatic looks the missing piece for me, the puzzle. I think they've got a lot of players in late who are now getting match fit. Armstrong, guys like that. So I'm going to Carlson, who scored last night. I'm going to Aberdeen comfortably here. I'm going to go Aberdeen to win comfortably 3-1.
Okay, I'm going to go Aberdeen to win 2-0. Paul Brady says, come on, Ali, bash the sheep. And Aurora says...
That's no reason, is it?
Kaiser says... listen, Aurora says, we still love Alison, even though she can't stand us. Well,
I don't know where this perception comes from.
Well, it's just,
I think it was because last season I said that I didn't think they were going to win the league. I think that
some of the stuff you tell us
and I think that was
off-air,
proven right.
off-air is the worst.
No, it's not fair. It's just kind of, you go, what? You kidding us?
Aberdeen to win 2-0.
Yeah.
Be my friend.
There you are. Dons to win 2-0?
2-0.
Yeah. Well, listen, you can't ask for any more than that. She's backing the Dons to win. And Dan says, after Europe, I think Dundee could win. Of course, this is the other thing that none of you guys have mentioned is quite simply, that fallout from playing in Europe on the Thursday. Will it affect them on the Sunday? Who knows? Thank you to everyone for your, obviously, your opinions, because that's what matters on a programme like this. Monday to Friday, the football show is absolutely free to watch. Our exclusive content, good one-to-ones on the way, I can tell you. And we've got competitions and giveaways if you want to sign up for PLZ Premium. Don't forget also, I know a lot of Hearts and Hibs fans will look at it. We did have Paul Hanlon on with Tam earlier in the week. Really good chat about the Hibbies and the match against Hearts. And I can tell you that there's a great interview with Stephen A. Smith. Kerry Pollock was chatting to the former Hearts boss, and we've been chatting to a few fans about the Edinburgh Derby. It is indeed the game of the weekend, although lots of you will be keeping your eye on what Celtic and Rangers are going to do. Will the crisis continue? Slip-ups aplenty, mistakes by goalkeepers and defence? Only time will tell. And Rubber Duck says Alison ducked out of that one. Well, Listen, it's all about opinions, and Ali's got more than a few. Great to have Alison, Ruffy and Tam McManus with his new aggressive haircut. And if you'd like to know how to get that haircut, yep, there it is. There it is. That's him. If ever I was an 80s Hibs casual, he is definitely wearing the identikit. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching and listening.